I'm the Las Vegas Poker Coach. I use this podcast to talk all things poker and with a professional mindset. I invite you to listen in as we talk strategy, casinos, and life in general. Thanks for tuning in. Hey everybody, how are you? It's good to be back with you. It's your LV Poker Coach coming to you here on Spotify, or you can also find my podcast episodes on my website at lvpokercoach.com. While you're on Spotify or any other player, please go ahead and click on like and subscribe. It really helps to grow the channel, so really appreciate you doing that. So today we're going to talk about becoming a poker pro and what not to do as a professional poker player. Now, I know that not all of you are going to have those aspirations, and that's okay, but some of these items might help you realize how I think and how I look at things. Some of these just might be entertaining and funny, and some of these things you might be able to put into play even during your casual game. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a fun episode here. So I'm basing all of this based on a lot of my time as a professional, a lot of my time in Las Vegas. I got to meet a lot of players. I got to do a lot of things in that time. So I've seen people who can be a professional in a good way and a professional in a bad way. So I'm basing this on my own experiences. I'm going to be drawing on my own stories. And hopefully, you'll be able to kind of take these away and think about them and see if they apply to your own game, or see if in the future you might want to become a professional too. And these would help you avoid some of those pitfalls that I have seen many professionals run into. So the first item I want to talk about of things to avoid as a professional poker pro is laziness. You can't be lazy and be a professional poker player at the same time. Now, realize that I'd be telling you that if you were going into, running your own business, because that's really what being a poker professional is. You're going into self-employment. You're an entrepreneur. So whether you were doing a tech startup or, you opened a coffee shop, like a brick and mortar coffee shop or something like that, it's still the same advice. Don't be lazy. You have to work hard if you're going to choose the entrepreneurial route. And that's what you're doing as a poker player. I know a lot of poker players don't think of themselves that way, but you really are starting your own business. You're in the business of you and building your professional mind and body and using the tools that that you have as a professional to make money. This is your livelihood. So you can't be lazy. You can't be lazy in any entrepreneurial approach. So it also means that, on top of being your own boss, you also need to be aware that you need to be focused when you're working. You need to be just as distraction free as possible. That means no phones, no headphones at the table. That can be very hard for a lot of people. When's the last time you got through a poker session without looking at your phone? It's very difficult. But that's the kind of discipline that's required when you're going to be a professional playing at the game. You're no longer an amateur. You're playing there for money. You're playing there for your income, right? For your well-being. So you need to, kind of be focused and, on top of things, just as you would at any other job. Again, maybe if you were starting a coffee shop, you'd have to be aware just so that your employees don't steal from you or something like that. Well, you have to be equally aware as a poker player for all the things that are going around you at the table or really any time that your money's in play. It also gives you the opportunity to be friendly, because I think that's an important part of being a professional. As a professional, I enjoyed meeting people from all over the United States and all over the world. To me, that was one of the perks of the job. But it also helps you get information. It helps you understand about players, about how much experience they have, how much you're playing with, so on and so forth. So be friendly, be alert, be focused, and I think that really helps take your professional game to another level. For the next item, I know that a lot of people talk about bankroll. And I'll obviously give you the advice of don't spend your playing bankroll. But I also mean that more in the greater view of you have to protect your bankroll. Your bankroll is your life, period. If you don't have a bankroll, you don't have a career. So make sure you have clearly separated out your playing bankroll from any other expenses you're going to have. Some of the best professionals I know have some very, very strict lines between their playing bankroll versus their life bankroll or other expenses that they have to cover in their lives. So make sure that you clearly separate that out, and you have to look at your bankroll as your livelihood, the only way that really you're going to stay in the game. Another way that I mean this is that you have to make sure that you protect your bankroll at all times. Know how much you have, know how much you're going to the cage with, know how much you should be cashing out. Cashiers at casinos do their best. They are very hard workers, but they make mistakes too. Always know exactly how much you're handing over, either in bills or in chips, and know exactly what you should be getting back. That is super important because mistakes here do happen, and those cost you money. They cost you hours at the table because you earn that money. So know how much you have at all times. Have your money counted or your chips counted before you get up to the cage, before you do any sort of chip run or things like that. You have to be 100% aware of your bankroll at all times. Okay, the next item we want to cover is don't play above your means. This means two things. One, you have to stay within your bankroll. You're gonna need more money than you think because the game is very tough, especially if you're gonna be playing it, a lot of hours as a professional. So you need to make sure that you are staying within your bankroll and you're able to run bad. Now, keep in mind, this is something really important that I rarely see people talk about. Keep in mind that I define running bad anytime you don't make money. That includes times when you break even. Breaking even, while not as bad as losing money, of course, can still be tough for you as a professional. That's still zero income coming in the door. One of the worst professional stories that I know of, we'll call him Bill. Bill came to Las Vegas to become a professional after he won a WSOP circuit ring. He had been playing for a long time. Obviously, you don't win a circuit ring by mistake. He played in one of the Midwest circuit stops. He won a ring, and he used that to launch himself into a professional full-time career playing in Las Vegas. Now, he had other problems. Bill had other problems in his life, but he managed to go broke and out as a poker player in the span of a month, and it was a month where he completely broke even. I remember that it was in November. I don't want to say the year to identify him, but it was a couple of years ago, but it was in November. He had a break-even month for all of November. He still played his hours. He still did, what he thought were the right things, but he broke even. So he had zero income that month. Now, think about that. Think about yourself in your own household. How long can you go without any income in the house? For most people, a month is 2 paychecks, right? Most people get 2 paychecks in a month. So how would you feel if if your household didn't have 2 paychecks in a row? That's pretty devastating for most people, and poker players are no different. But you have to be ready for that as a professional. That's one of the things you're going to come across. You're going to be putting in so many hours. You're going to be exposed to so much variance in the game and the way that the cards run and things like that. A zero income month is again not as bad as losing money, but still zero income is still zero income. And like I said, Bill went broke in a month. He had no income for November, and by January of the following year, he was out. He was back home. He just had to go back home and didn't make it as a professional. And again, keep in mind, this is a circuit ring winner. This was no beginner. So that happens. You have to be sure that you have the bankroll to sustain you, even if you have a zero income month, because I guarantee you that those do happen. The second related item to don't play above your means is to also stay within your plan. You're going to be playing a lot of hours. You're going to be spending a lot of time in a poker room. It's going to be tempting to move up in games and try to get more. You might think to yourself, oh, I have some expenses coming up. I need to, play a higher level or whatnot. If your skills aren't there and if your bankroll aren't there, you have to hang back. I know another guy. Let's call him Tom. And Tommy was your classic story of he was crushing his local room. He was from like the mid Northern California area. I remember the name of the room he played at, but I don't want to give it away. But Tommy came to Las Vegas, and I saw him sitting at 510 at the Bellagio one Sunday afternoon. And I think I saw him the next day, and I said, hey, I didn't realize that you were bankrolled for that game. And he told me, well, I want to take a shot and move up in stakes and, make more money. But what he didn't realize was that 510 at the Bellagio is the bread and butter for most very, very top professionals in Las Vegas. Now, this was a couple years ago. It might have changed since then. But at the time, the 510 at Bellagio was, pretty serious game. He caught my eye that day because what Tommy didn't realize was that he was sitting right in between two WSOP bracelet winners. You can go on a Sunday afternoon or whatnot, and you're going to find yourself sitting with bracelet winners in that game. Now, obviously, there's other games in Vegas that they play and whatnot, but for your Sunday afternoons, your Thursday afternoons, your Monday daytimes, whatever, you're going to be sitting there with people who are just there to make money. Period. Some very long time professionals. So for somebody like Tommy, who was new to Las Vegas and just trying to take a shot, even though he was underrolled or whatnot, that's a terrible decision to sit in the 510 at Bellagio. Very tough game with lots of good players, but that was him not staying within his plan. He didn't stay within the plan of being maybe bankrolled more to a cap 2.5 that's available at the Bellagio or other places. So you have to stay within your plan. You have to kind of measure yourself, and sometimes even hold yourself back and say, I really want to play those new stakes, but my game isn't there yet. I'm making too many mistakes or mental mistakes, whatever the case may be. I don't quite have the bankroll. Let me put in the hours to work. That's the attitude versus just, well, I want to take a shot because I need more money this month. That's a recipe to, not being a professional anymore in this game. Okay, so we talked about expenses just a little bit earlier, but let's take a little bit more of a deep dive into that. One of the things that I have seen some very successful professionals do is that they know exactly the expenses that they're going to need for the next 3 to 6 months. And they take that money and they completely set it apart, and they are ready to go for any of their expenses that are coming up. They have that money in a completely separate account, and they can pay their bills from that. And part of the benefit of that is you get this peace of mind of no matter what happens, I have my money set aside and I can pay all my bills, no problem. Again, some of the most legitimate pros that I know in Las Vegas have been doing this for many years, and it's one of their keys to success. Now, where it gets to be a little bit harder is that you also have to realize that you can't just look 3 to 6 months ahead. You're going to want things down the road that also take planning now. Even though you're going to be in a job and you're going to be in a fun job, you're still going to want things like a vacation, a new car, a better place to live, things like that take a little bit more saving, a little bit more planning to do. You're going to need breaks. You're going to need to get away from the game and go on a cruise or something. You may have a car now, but your car is going to break down. Cars wear out. You're going to need a new car at some point in the future. So not only do you have to plan for, next month's housing payment, whether it's a mortgage or rent or whatever, you got to plan for, well, I'm going to want a new car in a couple of years. I need a vacation at Christmas time or whatever you may be thinking. So make sure that you're also taking that when you're planning your expenses. Anybody can sit down and say, well, here's my rent and I need some, I need a haircut every month and I need my groceries. That's the easy part. But you got to have the foresight to be able to plan ahead and be able to say, okay, well, if I'm serious about doing this long term, I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my family or whatever other needs you might have. I need to have things that are going to, break down in my life that I need to repair. So here's the money that I'm going to set aside for that. All right. Here's the last thing you need to think about also. Don't have life leaks. I know, that sounds obvious, but it needs to be said because this is also where a lot of poker players go bad. Life leaks can be drugs, women, partying, whatever. And this is especially difficult in Las Vegas where, all of these things are available to you at any time of the day or the week. Also, a lot of players make plenty of money in the poker room, but they can't make it out of the casino without making a sports bet or without making, some sort of blackjack play or whatever. Or maybe you steam off some money because you're trying to get back to even after a bad session. Whatever the case may be, make sure that you're in a casino just for the poker, not for anything else. Well, I guess you could be there for the free meals too. But don't be there because, I was bored, so I also made a sports bet on the Lakers tonight. And all that adds up. All those small things that you do in a casino add up, and they can detract away from your winnings from your professional mindset. So make sure that you make it out of the casino with the money that you made. Being a sucker is also a life leak. You have to be careful with that. You have to watch yourself for that. Just a couple weeks ago, I was sitting in a 2-5 game where one of the players was telling a story about how they got approached in the casino parking lot by somebody selling fake iPhones and the AirPods and something else. I think like a fake Rolex watch or something. And the guy was a complete sucker, and he ended up giving the guy like $500+ for what was essentially a set of empty boxes. I think they were just very good knockoffs or something like that, but they were essentially like empty boxes. Don't be a sucker. So many poker players write in their memoirs and their articles about how they end up investing in these crazy investment schemes and end up losing their money, so on and so forth. Don't do that. That's part of a life leak that's going to lead to you not holding on to the money, again, not protecting your bankroll. Bottom line is that if you wouldn't do something while working a 9-to-5 job at a large corporation, then you probably shouldn't do it while playing poker. You probably wouldn't miss work at a large corporation because you were going to go party on a Tuesday afternoon or something, right? So don't do that to yourself because you're in the business of you as a professional player. Yes, you are the boss, and yes, it's a fun job, but all those things add up. All those things add up to your mental health, to your mental energy and stamina, and it really helps for you to stay engaged in the game and to treat it as a serious job. And it should be a serious job because you are also the beneficiary of that job. So those are the life leaks that I think you should watch out for if you're serious about making it as a professional. So that's my list. What's your list? What do you think? What are some of the other things that you need as a professional? Maybe you have experience playing professionally. Maybe you don't. So maybe you can just tell me what you think you would need to do as a professional. Because I'm also going to have some podcasts around it as far as some of the myths of being a professional. But let me know what you thought about this episode in the comments below. Or feel free to send me a message on Twitter or on Instagram. I am LV Poker Coach on all socials. And I'll talk to you in the next episode. Hey, let's keep the conversation going. You can reach me on all socials at LV Poker Coach, all one word, on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Send me a message there and let's talk.